Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror film, HEX. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with the narrator telling the story of a wealthy family in the 1800s. The Chan family was once a wealthy clan until hard times fell on them. The family's remaining daughter, Hostess, ties the knot with her moved-in husband, called Master. However, their marriage soon turns into a nightmare as Master becomes unhappy and unsatisfied. He resorts to drinking, gambling, and women. Hostess also develops a lung problem that leaves her almost bedridden and constantly coughing. The doctor prescribes medication for the hostess and advises her to rest more so she can recover in no time. Later that day, Master beats up their maid, believing she dislikes working for him. Hearing the painful cries of the maid, Hostess ignores her sickness and tries to stop Master. She's crawling on the floor, weakened and coughing, when Master enters and calls her out for pretending sick. She tries to get his help, but he ignores her and looks for the maid. Not long after, the maid appears and helps Hostess sit on a chair. Tears run down her face as she apologizes to Hostess because she can no longer serve her. She cannot tolerate the Master constantly beating her up. The Master suddenly speaks up, pissed by what he hears. The maid immediately runs away, leaving Hostess to condemn her husband's behavior. However, Master doesn't care, as he was used to dozens of servants serving him when he got into the Chan family. He blames Hostess for it and tells her to be thankful that he's not gone. Hours later, the vendor enters the Chan mansion and the Master takes him to Hostess's room. Hostess has been his customer for a long time, so she gives him a tip. As he hands on the goods, the vendor cannot help but notice the jade bracelet on her wrist. The hostess shares that she inherited it from her mother, and it probably cost a lot of money. While fishing in the Foggy Fox, two townspeople, a grandpa and his grandson, meet a lady tourist. She's looking for Chan's address, which the grandpa gives to her. Not long after, she reaches the Chan mansion, welcomed by Hostess, who recognizes her immediately. She's been the daughter of one of the servants of the Chan clan since Hostess was a child. Her name is Beauty. Seeing Hostess's condition, Beauty offers to take care of her. The hostess refuses, as they cannot afford servants anymore due to her husband's gambling. However, Beauty insists on helping her to repay her family's kindness to her mother. Later that day, a drunken Master is on his way home when he accidentally falls into the pond water. The grandpa and his grandson immediately help him and take him to Hostess, who tries to stop him from losing his temper. However, Master refuses to calm down and insists she gives him more wine. Beauty helped Hostess make tea for Master, who only gets more aggressive, getting his tongue burned. Hostess can only cry as to how her husband mistreats her. The following day, Master calls Hostess to serve him. Beauty is serving Hostess when she suddenly gets dizzy, so she has to let Beauty serve Master alone. Master immediately calls her names and even badmouths his wife, still thinking she's pretending sick. Beauty tries to explain that Hostess is sick, but it only pisses Master more that he even beats her up. Beauty immediately interferes, telling Master it was her idea to serve the Chan family and apologizes for not doing her job well. As he leaves, Beauty tells Hostess that she's too tolerant of her sadistic behavior and Master will never change because of that. One rainy day, while cleaning the Master's office, Beauty shivers as the Master looks for the note he had written. Beauty explains that she threw it away after seeing the dirt, pissing off Master and prompting him to start beating her up. Hostess immediately runs to her aid, but Beauty returns the beating, angering Master even more. Hostess tries to stop him when he accidentally removes her jade bracelet. Seeing the jewelry, Master turns his back to leave and drink when Beauty says something that boils his blood. So to prove that he's truly a man, Master rips off her clothes. Hostess repeatedly attempts to help, but no matter what they do and how much they plead, Master is merciless. Later that day, Hostess apologizes to Beauty for what she had to endure and instructs her to leave immediately tomorrow. However, Beauty cannot leave her, especially when her condition worsens, causing her to cough up blood. Master enters the room, drunk and pissed off, upon seeing Beauty in the mansion. He starts beating her again. Beauty fights back as usual and runs away with Hostess's bracelet that he accidentally drops. They fight for it, causing it to fall inside the big jar, filled with rainwater. He quickly starts looking for it, when Beauty pushes him into the jar. Master tries to resurface, when Hostess reluctantly helps Beauty to fully push it inside. After that, they use their bodies to block the lid until it stops shaking. Hostess promptly freaks out as she realizes everything. They put him on a blanket to hide his body and roll it over to the pond to make it look like he fell into the water because of too much alcohol. The following day, the hard-headed Hostess insists on going to the pond to see if he's still there. As they prepare to leave, the grandson suddenly tells his grandpa that he finally caught a fish. It seems pretty heavy, so the grandpa helps his grandson bring it to land. Hostess and Beauty cannot hide their nervousness as they watch the duo become confused after seeing a blanket. They open it, revealing an empty blanket, prompting Hostess to pass out from tiredness. Later that night, Hostess awakens when she hears her room doors opening. Shivers quickly run down her spine as she waits for someone to enter. But then, a decomposed master suddenly grabs her from behind. Hostess breaks free from the grip and runs away from him, but no matter where she goes, he's there. Cornered, Hostess calls for help as he strangles her. Beauty enters Hostess's room in a panic and wakes her up from her nightmare. She calms Hostess down and even sleeps in her room to ensure she sleeps and takes her rest. As the morning comes, Beauty finds herself alone in the room, so she promptly looks for her. However, she only finds a bloody basket of dead birds in the mansion. Not long after, she finds a hysterical Hostess by the pond, who thinks a floating dead dog is her dead husband. She takes Hostess back to the mansion, where the doctor leaves her with a new prescription. As Beauty sees the doctor out, she finds the townspeople crowding around the pond. The captain informs them that there have been reports of a stinking smell, so they're draining the pond dry. Beauty immediately returns to the mansion and reports it to Hostess. They go to the pond, and Hostess gets confused upon seeing fish and a dead pig. There's no sign of her husband's corpse. Later that night, Hostess wakes up screaming after seeing her decomposed husband standing above her with falling goo. As she turns aside to avoid the attack, Hostess suddenly vomits blood. The next scene shows the master is still alive and not decomposed, mourning at Hostess's funeral. After the ceremony, he sets all Hostess's jewelry on a table and gives the jade bracelet to Beauty, who is actually his mistress. She gives Master a kiss on the cheeks, complimenting his plan to scare his annoying wife to death. Everything was part of the plan, including pretending dead. It turns out he used his small pipe to breathe underwater to survive the suffocation. Later that day, while closing the morgue, the two elderly caretakers hear Hostess's altar fall to the ground. They put it back up when her coffin suddenly drops, prompting them to leave as it's scary and a bad omen. Meanwhile, while walking in the corridors, Beauty hears strange noises from Hostess's room. She immediately shares this with the master, who proves it's nothing but rats on the altar. The following day, Master hires some men to remove the furniture in Hostess's room and burn them all. He informs them that she died from lung disease, so burning her stuff rather than giving them away will be more hygienic, even though most of them are worth something. One of the movers is left alone in the room while his friends burn the furniture. Suddenly, Hostess enters the room and tells him not to move her furniture. He doesn't follow her as the master has informed them that she's dead, so he calls the master instead. He informs Master about his dead wife and her instructions. However, when they enter the room, Hostess suddenly vanishes and all her furniture is left. The mover suddenly pees over his pants and the floor, realizing that he just talked to Hostess's ghost. He also freezes from shock and terrified, while his friends laugh at him for being such a scaredy cat. After burning the furniture, Master gives them their wages when he suddenly notices his bird. It's dead like it's been butchered. He asks Beauty if she has done it, but she has no idea about it and suggests it might be the mover's doings. However, Master has had his eyes on them while they're working, so it's not them. Beauty then thinks it might be Hostess. The cross-eyed mover interrupts and asks Master for more money, which he gives. Master then asks if they killed his bird, but the cross-eyed mover denies such an accusation. As he leaves, the mover is called by Hostess, who's pissed off because they disobey her orders. The mover doesn't care about her, as he doesn't believe in ghosts. He accidentally sees his reflection in the mirror. It shows him alone, even though Hostess is in front of him. The mover screams his muscles away. He stumbles on the furniture upon seeing Hostess's skull. He doesn't care about the money anymore and rushes his way out of the mansion. Later that day, while roaming the dark halls, Beauty shocks herself when she doesn't notice her reflection in the mirror. She calms down after realizing her mistake when she sees something in the spit bowl. As she looks closer, she realizes it's blood, so she prepares to leave when she sees Hostess's ghostly reflection in the mirror. Beauty screams in shock as she runs away. Master hears her screams and calms her down, but Beauty insists on seeing Hostess. They check out the spit bowl, only to find it broken and Master's filter on the ground. Master tells her that she's imagining things and scaring herself, as Hostess is already gone. The following day, Beauty freezes on her spot as she watches Hostess leave her room and walks past her. Beauty quickly returns to her senses and calls out to Master. Suddenly, a dead bird falls on her head, causing her to slip. She accidentally opens one of the doors and falls onto an unconscious Master, who gets awakened by her screams and heavy weight. Master dizzyingly shares that someone pushed him off the stairs. Beauty tells him what she saw, and even though he got his leg injured falling down the stairs, Master checks it out. However, there's no one in the mansion aside from them. Just then, Hostess appears behind his back, holding a butchering knife. Fortunately, Beauty screams, alerts Master, and dodges the attack. Nevertheless, they fail to catch her as she suddenly vanishes into thin air. For their peace of mind, Master and Beauty check her coffin and confirm that she's dead. Eaten by guilt and fear, Beauty kneels on Hostess's altar and apologizes for being an accomplice to her death and committing adultery with her husband. They also get a priest to bless the mansion and repulse Hostess's ghost, but she's far from being done with them. Later that night, Master and Beauty feel like they're being watched through the door gaps. While wondering how she can possibly return, Master rushes upstairs after hearing screams. He momentarily freezes on top of the stairs after seeing Hostess haunting Beauty. He tries to run after her, but misses her. Master rechecks the coffin with the morgue caretakers, only to find it mysteriously empty. The caretakers share that Hostess's spirit is potent and vengeful. But Master doesn't believe the ghost shit. He instead believes his wife has not died, so he sharpens a butchering knife and sleeps with it during the night. One night while they're asleep, Beauty suddenly screams in fear, prompting Master to swish his knife in every direction to hit Hostess. However, after realizing that Beauty just had a bad dream, they soon calm down and return to sleep. The following day, the vendor returns to the mansion, intending to sell more goods to Hostess. A disheveled Beauty informs him about Hostess's death and how her spirit haunts them. However, he refuses to believe it as he sees Hostess's reflection through the glass windows. Panic sets in, and Beauty tells him it's Hostess's ghost. The vendor finally believes her this time, as Hostess suddenly vanishes into thin air. Beauty stops the vendor from leaving when he suddenly notices her wearing Hostess's jade bracelet. The vendor realizes that she might be involved in Hostess's death, so he will report her to the authorities. However, Master suddenly appears behind him and repeatedly attacks him with his cane, rendering him unconscious. Later that day, Master digs a hole to bury the vendor, who only pretends to be dead to attack Master. The vendor immediately runs away and hides, while Master searches for him with his butchering knife. He almost gets caught twice, but always finds a way to escape. However, his luck soon runs out when Master pierces through the roof, slashing his insides and causing him to fall into a small water fountain. The following day, they get another monk to bless the mansion and repulse the evil spirit. While walking, the bald monk steps onto a finger. As he digs deeper, Master sharpens his knife, ready to attack and kill him anytime. Fortunately, it's just a Buddha hand. The monk proceeds to the ritual when he sees Hostess walking around the halls like she's not dead. The monk follows her into the kitchen, where he finds her beheaded dead in a giant jar, waiting for him. The monk tries to run his bald head away when Hostess attacks him. He reaches for a knife and chops off Hostess's hand to escape, prompting Hostess to leave and vanish. However, Hostess's hand has its own life. It attacks him, holding him by his neck. But Beauty wakes up the monk from his nightmare. It turns out the monk has fallen asleep before performing the ritual, and the dream of her strangling him pushes him to the edge. So he refuses to help them anymore and leaves the haunted mansion immediately. Later that night, while preparing to get into bed, Master sees her dead wife's body lying on the bed. He immediately stabbed her with his knife, but soon realizes it's a different corpse. However, Hostess suddenly appears beside him and pushes him off the balcony, causing him to fall to the ground badly, ending his cheating life. Meanwhile, Beauty wakes up on the cold floor. In hopelessness, Beauty hires a necromancer to repel and exorcise Hostess's spirit. The necromancer cites ritualistic prayers, while her assistant dances naked, with her body written with rituals. Hostess's spirit soon enters the assistant's body, and the necromancer speaks to Hostess through her. She wants to avenge her death, so the necromancer punishes her by weakening her soul. After that, the necromancer proceeds to the second part of the ritual. A now bald Beauty sits quietly as the necromancer writes spells all over her body. After that, she instructs Beauty to recite the prayer of salvation if Hostess comes again to haunt her. She must never stop at any cause and wait for the morning to come. The necromancer leaves her in the room and happily exits the mansion with money. Not long after, Hostess returns to haunt her, prompting Beauty to cite the prayer of salvation. However, Hostess grabs her picky ears and forcefully detaches them from her head. Beauty cannot handle the pain and Hostess's endless haunting until her death. The next scene shows Hostess's twin sister burning her stuff as she successfully avenges Hostess's death. It reveals that she has returned to the mansion one night and saw Master removing his mask after scaring Hostess to death. She discovered Master and Beauty's evil plan and so decided to avenge her twin sister's death. The film ends with the narrator sharing with the viewers that ever since that incident, the Cham Mansion has been abandoned and haunted. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.